Hello and welcome to this edition of Access Asia. Coming up, a survivor's account of the Uyghur detention camps in China, torture, brainwashing, and forced sterilizations. Today, she wants to give a voice to the voiceless. India hopes to vaccinate 300 million people by August, and France 24 was there for the very first inoculations. We take a look at the challenges ahead. And the pandemic changes the face of plastic surgery in South Korea. Demand has skyrocketed. People eager to get work done as masks can help hide the post-op bruising. Well, we begin with a survivor's absolutely harrowing first-hand account. A recently published book sheds light on the oppression facing minority Muslims in China. Survivor of the Chinese gulag is a testimony of a Uyghur woman, Gulbahar Haitiwaji. She was lured back from France to China, where authorities arrested, interrogated, and abused her. Recently, she's decided to tell her story.
In detention, Gulbahar Haitiwaji often yearned for walks like these, arm in arm with her daughter. A Uyghur Muslim from China living in France, her life was turned upside down in 2016 when she returned to her native region of Xinjiang. Authorities arrested her, confiscated her passport, and detained her. Now back in Paris, she provides a rare testimony.
No one told me why I was being arrested. I hadn't committed a crime, but I became a criminal. I was trapped. There was a time when I was chained to my bed for 20 days. Looking back on it, I see now that it was a form of torture. They wanted to scare me and force me to obey without resisting.
Gulbahar Haitiwaji was held in a camp similar to the one seen in these leaked images. Beijing says they're vocational training centers that provide job training and counter religious extremism. But as Gulbahar recalls, these camps are used to indoctrinate Uyghur Muslims.
We were banned from speaking our Uyghur language. There were surveillance cameras everywhere, in the cells, the hallways, and the toilets. Every day for 11 hours, we had Chinese language or history classes. It was brainwashing. We had to sing patriotic songs and do military exercises for hours on end. Some women fainted. We were exhausted, physically and mentally.
Her family fought for her freedom for more than 2 years. With the help of the French government, she was released in 2019. Gulbahar Haitiwaji hopes that by telling her story, she can shed light on the injustices facing millions of Uyghurs in China.
Well, India called its vaccination drive the largest in the world. While the government wants to vaccinate 300 million people by August, the challenges will be more than just logistics. Many are worried about transparency. Critics say that one of the vaccines that was granted emergency use approval was rushed out despite a lack of data. Diya Gupta reports from New Delhi.
In New Delhi, all eyes are on the country's first recipients of the Covid-19 vaccine.
I'm feeling very proud. I am the first person to receive the vaccine in Delhi and in our hospital, and that is also made in India.
Doses of 2 approved vaccines are being administered to frontline workers free of cost. The government now faces enormous challenges in safely transporting these vaccines to over 3,000 sites across the country. After months of struggle, doctors at this hospital are relieved.
आपको वैक्सीनेशन होने के बाद में भी तो प्रिकॉशन तो लेना पड़ेगा हमको. But yes, we won this fight. बहुत proud moment था and I was little bit emotional.
But one of the vaccines has raised alarm bells. Bharat Biotech's Covaxin, touted as India's first indigenous vaccine, was approved before trials were concluded. Following the death of one of their clinical trial participants, the company stands accused of conducting trials on vulnerable communities without consent.
जब भी कोई दवा का परीक्षण होता है तो उसमें लोगों को समझाया जाता है कि ये एक आजमाइश हो रही है, इससे आपको ये नुकसान हो जाएंगे, इससे आपको ये फायदे हो जाएंगे.
Last month, 800 people in this neighborhood were offered €8 and injected with what they believed was an approved vaccine.
The most important document in this thing is missing, which is the informed consent. There are many people in this house who took the vaccination and who are feeling sick after that, but none of this is being recorded, none of them are being monitored, there has been no follow-up. We are not against the Indian vaccine, we are not against any vaccine. We are against the procedure, the violations in the trial.
Despite several concerns, Prime Minister Modi has announced that India is ready to share its vaccines with the rest of the world. In one of the largest immunization drives ever, the government plans to vaccinate 300 million Indians by the end of July this year.
Well, officials in the Maldives want to raise awareness about COVID-19 vaccines. Inoculations offering hope that one day life may return to normal. That, along with some frustration, played a part in the country opening up again to visitors. Tourism is a vital part of the economy, but much like the disease itself, some areas are faring better than others. Cami Nedalek tells us more.
A quiet paradise, which has been even quieter than usual ever since the pandemic struck, as the tourism sector was wiped out almost overnight. But things in the Maldives seem to be taking off again. In the capital, Malé, planes take off every 10 minutes to bring tourists to their hotels on different islands.
Almost 2,500 passengers on an average, and previously it used to be around 2,800, so that's why we are on a very gradual path of recovery.
Tourists here must get a COVID test before arrival, but they don't have to quarantine and there are no restrictions based on nationality. Visitors to these hotels don't even need to wear face masks, as staff live on the island and the only new arrivals are the clients, who've already tested negative. It's like a trip back to pre-pandemic times, and that's in high demand.
Tout est plus ou moins plein. Nous finissons ce mois-ci à 85% d'occupation.
The hotel hasn't even had to lower prices to attract clients, despite costing up to 16,000 euros a week.
It's not cheap, but I think it's a travel you make it once in a lifetime, and I think at the moment it's a good point to do it.
Tourism makes up 2/3 of the country's GDP. In the second quarter of 2020, as tourism flatlined, the economy contracted by over 50%. The 1,600 euros a month this diving instructor earns from teaching tourists supports his entire family.
My family, my kids, my parents as well.
But not all communities are able to benefit from the renewed influx of tourism money. Excursions to islands inhabited by locals are off limits due to the risk of infection. In the high season, tourists inject some 30,000 euros into this community per month.
/
2020 saw an estimated 70% drop in visitors. And while many here are hoping for a quick recovery, analysts say that tourism may not fully recover until 2022.
Well, South Korea is sometimes called the plastic surgery capital of the world. And despite the pandemic, maybe even because of it, business is booming. Whether it's first-timers or repeat clients, demand is up. Some say they are happy to wear a face mask to cover the post-operation bruising. Aaron Ogunkeye reports.
Between difficulties breathing and frustration at not being able to see facial expressions, for many, obligatory mask mandates are an inconvenience. But here in South Korea, for some, they're the perfect opportunity for covertly recovering from plastic surgery. That's the case for 20-year-old university student Hanna Ryu, who got nose surgery in mid-December.
I thought it would be best to get it done now, before people start taking off their face masks when vaccines become available. There will be bruises and swelling from the surgery, but since we'll all be wearing face masks, I think that should help.
Demand for cosmetic surgery has skyrocketed over the past year. Some 2.6 million South Koreans went under the knife in 2020, a 63% increase from 2019. Plastic surgeons say demand increased significantly for both nose and lip surgeries, body parts that can be easily hidden under masks, as well as for areas that face coverings do not conceal. For many, cosmetic surgery even represents a form of self-care after nearly a year overshadowed by coronavirus restrictions.
I feel like it's sort of a revenge spending. I sense that customers express their pent-up emotions by getting cosmetic procedures. People who used to get one procedure get 2 or 3 kinds of procedures these days.
South Korea has the highest number globally of cosmetic surgeries per capita, with as many as 1 in 3 women having gone under the knife. But the procedure is largely seen as much more than fulfilling a personal desire. With headshots often required for job applications, cosmetic surgery is even said to help open up opportunities for employment.
And finally, for all the dog owners out there, you may well love your pet, but could you tell what your pooch was feeling just from the sound of its bark? Well, now you can. A South Korean startup has developed an AI-powered dog collar that can detect 5 emotions: happy, relaxed, anxious, angry, or sad. Now, the device monitors barks using voice recognition technology. Over 3 years, researchers studied more than 10,000 barks from 50 breeds of dogs. Here's one owner's reaction after trying the technology.
I just thought she was happy when she played, and sad and anxious when I wasn't home. But after analyzing with Pet Pulse, I could see that she felt angry when she lost a game, and that she's not just anxious when left home alone. She feels a variety of emotions like humans.
All right, well, that's it for this edition. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned to France 24.
France 24 es rigurosidad, precisión y responsabilidad. Somos una familia comprometida con el periodismo y la verdad.
C'est une des seules chaînes d'infos où on nous laisse jouer en plateau avec des Legos, avec des robots, avec tout un tas d'objets.
We take a return ticket to revisit some of the key people and places of the last 50 years of world television news.
على فرانس 24 يمكننا أن نحاور أصحاب القرار من العالم في كل الميادين ولدينا المساحة لكشف ثنايا مسيرتهم.
Aquí en France 24 tenemos a varias personas de distintos países, algo que es un reflejo de cómo es Latinoamérica, con culturas muy distintas. Y allí es muy bonito encontrar que en el deporte todos tenemos algo en común.
Les femmes, elles sont souvent victimes de l'actualité internationale, mais ce sont aussi des actrices majeures de la géopolitique. Et d'ailleurs, on en parle dans France 24.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.